Welcome back, my cheesy minions. I have a battle here against Skim28, and if you recognize that name, you've been watching my videos for a while. In fact, we battled several times in the past. Mostly, actually, I think in Gen 6, he's used to be like a stream regular, but he did stop by in a recent stream, and we had this RU match. In fact, the last time I battled him was September of last year. So yeah, it's been a little while, so I'm kind of excited to battle this guy, and yeah, there's the teams. Like I said, this is RU, which is always a fun tier, though it's one that I've kind of lost quite a bit of battles in recently. I do like where RU's at, though, but I think I've lost my last several battles in it, so it'll be nice to get a win. I'm going to go ahead and lead with my Galvantula. He leads with a Noivern, and a very cool shiny Noivern there, and yeah, I decided to switch out because I don't want to take a Flamethrower. I mean, I do have the Focus Sash, and I could set up Sticky Webs, but I don't think it's worth it. I think it's a little bit safer just to go into my Porygon 2, which should absorb this nicely. This is a mixed bulk Porygon 2, so it can take even special hits very well. And then comes his Arcanine now, and yeah, it's going to get the Intimidate, not that that matters, but he does obviously resist this Ice Beam as well, so not a bad move for him. I do get the Freeze, which actually is going to lock him into a Fire-type move, so I do know that. I decided to stay in, though, knowing I can probably take a Flare Blitz, and he does go for it. It ends up doing considerable damage, actually, to my Porygon, too. And I just go for a Toxic. Like I said, I'm pretty sure he's just going to thaw out due to using a Fire move, and if he doesn't, I can Toxic something on the Switch. End up getting the Arcanine Toxic Poison, which is actually probably would have been a little better if it was bulky Arcanine, but it's seems to be offensive Arcanine, and I don't want to risk losing Porygon 2 to another Flare Blitz, so I go into my Dragalge, and this is definitely an offensive Arcanine. We have already seen the Life Orb, but it does about half here to my Dragalge, even after the resistance, so that's not too fun, and in comes another Flare Blitz, and it's going to nearly kill my Dragalge. Fortunately, the Arcanine will die to the Toxic Poison and this Life Orb, so yeah, that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, it leaves my Dragalge in a bad position because I'm slower than everything else on his team. He goes into Vivillon, which is interesting, though. And he tries to set up a Quiver Dance. I don't know what he was thinking here, because at this point, my Dragalge is kind of like Death Fodder. It's a Specs Dragalge, so it's going to get outsped by everything my opponent has. And he tries to set up on it, thinking I would try to save it, but I had no real reason to try to save it aside from maybe Death Fodder, so I just didn't want to give him any free Quiver Dances, so I was just going to attack, and yeah, that's he just ends up losing his Vivillon for nothing. Anyway, in comes Swellow, and yeah, it's going to go ahead and be Special Swellow, so that's going to be annoying to combat. I still have my Galvantula, though, and it still has its Focus Sash, and he ends up missing the Heat Wave, which is super unlucky for him, which gives me that Thunder. I mean, I would have survived it anyway, because like I said, I do have the Focus Sash, but he would have been obviously able to hit me down on my Focus Sash, and now I just have free reign to do anything I want. I just go for the Sticky Webs this time, and he ends up missing the Hurricane! So that's 2 free turns my Galvantula has gotten. And this time he is going to go ahead and connect with the Hurricane, hitting me down at 30 HP as I just go for another Thunder. And yeah, it's going to do over half to the Noivern. And he seems to be Scarfed, I would think, because it doesn't look like Specs damage there with the Hurricane, but he's not switching up his moves. So I'm going to go ahead and guess Scarfed. Either way, I can go into Donphan. I actually don't have Ice Shard on this Donphan, but I figured I could bluff it, because he is going to go ahead and switch out into Feraligatr. And, yeah, shiny Feraligatr, so it's blue on the tips or whatever. And I'm now going to set up Stealth Rock. So now I have really nice hazards up on his team. And, yeah, I decide, I believe, just to go for the Earthquake. I don't want to give this guy any free setup. He ends up going into Noivern. Oh, no, you know what I do? I go for the knockoff, I think. No, I go for the Earthquake. I lied. So he goes back into Noivern. I guess now trying to switch up his move to a Draco Meteor. And, I do have knockoff, so now I'm going to go ahead and kill it. He ends up missing the Draco Meteor, too, so just, really, really, lucky for me in this match. I feel kind of bad, because, obviously, this could have been a little bit closer right now, but what can you do? This Lilligant is obviously really scary to my Donphan, so I'm going to go into my Virizion, which has good special defense. And it also actually has the Boginium Z for some reason. I don't know why I gave this thing the Boginium Z, but I did. And now I'm just going to go for it. I think this is, what even is this move that I'm using? The Z I can't even remember. What bug move does Virizion get? But anyway, it actually gives me an excuse to use Savage Spin Out in a Wi-Fi battle. I feel like I like Savage Spin Out's animation, and I don't think I've used it yet, so there you go, and down it goes, and yeah, wow, Buginium Z actually useful. I'm trying to figure out what bug move that even was. I can't remember. I think it was ZX Scizor. I think that's what that was. Anyway, in comes his Feraligatr again, and I ended up switching, and this was actually kind of a derp on my part, because I think I, at the time, forgot about, because it was actually a weird, bulky set for my Virizion. It's not like, I don't think I had max speed, and I kind of forgot about the, what's it called? I forgot about the Sticky Web, so I switched out into Porygon 2, which ended up being stupid, because I could have probably just outsped and killed it, but whatever. I get the Thunderbolt off on it, so it's not gonna... It does get the Dragon Dance off, so now he's back to normal speed. I got the Thunderbolt, so it's nearly dead. I just need to finish it off. I go into my Bruxish, who has higher base speed than Feraligatr, and I know this guy has max speed, so I'm just gonna go for the Psyche Fangs to KO the Feraligatr, and that is GG there. Skim28 would have been more interesting probably if I didn't get all those misses in my favor, but yeah, you win some, you lose some. They definitely mattered, and yeah, it sucks, but that's part of the game, unfortunately. Anyway, today's question of the day is going to be a question of the day about an interesting Pokemon opponent used. Technically, it's a Gen 6 No, it's a Gen 6 Pokemon, I think. Vivillon? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's Gen 6. It's not Gen 7. I don't know why it has Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon on this image. I just found it on Google Images. Sorry if I'm using it, but anyway, it's an interesting Pokemon because depending on where you live in the world, it changes the appearance of it. So obviously, people can use cheat codes or you know, Poke hacking to get any form they want. There's also two special forms: the Pokeball form and the Fancy form on the bottom there. Those are like event only. And my opponent was using the Pokeball form, so probably a perfectly legitimate one. So today's question of the day, and I've always actually kind of wanted to ask a question today about Vivillon, because I do kind of like the concept of it, but obviously I always kind of forgot. So today's question of the day is A, what is the local Vivillon where you live? So when you catch a Vivillon, or it's a Pre-Evu and it turns into a Vivillon, what form has it been for you, and also what is your favorite form? Which one do you like the best design-wise? As for me, I do like the Pokeball one. I think it's the one I see a lot of people use, and I think it's the coolest looking because it just, you know, it's a Pokeball. I mean, let's face it, it's just really cool. But yeah, the one that's local in my area, Pennsylvania, is actually the polar form, which is actually kind of interesting because I also live really close. Because if you go down a state under us, it's actually the modern form Vivillon. I actually never really understood why we're polar. I mean, I get part of most of Canada is. You think the modern one would make more sense for the East Coast or the Northeast, but I guess they decided to give us the polar version. If you don't know which one your local Vivillon is because you never caught a Vivillon, just go online. I'm sure you can find a map. I don't actually know. Can you just change like your 3DS region? I think it actually might be based on like the internal region of the 3DS. No, because then you wouldn't be able to. I don't know. You probably can just change your 3DS's location in the settings, and it'll change it that way. But I don't know. Anyway, leave a comment about that, and see you guys again next time. Later, my pals.